Hi, I'm Mike with the School of Self-Reliance. This is a continuation of our survival and prepping series. This one's kind of a short one. What I want to talk to you about today is just something I call the rule of 4 and the rule of 7. Now, there's a lot of people who have written books and stuff on this very subject, and the rule of 4, and I'm going to read it to you the way it appears in my survival manual. In an emergency, when the lights are out, when there is no food and almost no clean water, when there is no cop on the corner, when there is no 911 to call for help, when there is no information about what is going on, when there is no light at the end of the tunnel, in 4 days, your neighbors become dangerous people. I want to talk to you about that. I want you to think this through. If you're prepping and planning and you're a survivalist or what have you, and you have the ability to provide for your kids, that's great, but I want you to think it through. If your neighbor doesn't, even though he's a nice guy that you talk to him, you have a beer with him in the evening, put yourself in his shoes. If he has no clean water, the only water for his crying baby to drink, a child that hasn't had a sip of water in 2 or 3 days, if the only water in his house is the contaminated water in the toilet that they've been urinating in. If you were in that situation, what would you do to get clean water for your child? If your child hadn't eaten for a couple of days, what would you do to get food for that baby? Your neighbors are no different than you, so whatever horrible answer you just came up with, apply it to your neighbors. Your neighbors are generally nice people, but in their homes, they only have about 3 days worth of food at most. That's the average for most Americans. So think it through. If they've only got 3 days worth of food over there, when that food runs out on the morning of the 4th day, they're getting up hungry. They're dirty. They haven't taken baths. They're uncomfortable. What kind of people are they going to be on day 4, by the end of day 4? Going to be very different than the friendly neighbors that you're normally used to seeing and having a beer with or cutting the grass next door to you, They're not going to be the same people. The rule of 7 is another rule that's been well written about, and it goes along with the rule of 4. And I'm going to read it to you the way it's written in my survival manual that we teach in classes. Rule of 7. By day 7, in an emergency, with all the conditions of Rule 4 having been met, your neighbors become killers. I don't mean that euphemistically. I don't mean it that way at all. Your neighbors literally become killers, because by day 7 they're out of food, they're out of clean water. They don't have any light at the end of the tunnel. They don't know when this is going to end, but they are hungry. Their children are hungry. They are thirsty. They need things. They've needed them for days. Most people will do a lot when their stomach starts to argue with them. They'll do a lot more when it's the stomach of their child, their child's empty stomach arguing with them. And the safety of their kid. What if that kid is sick, by now? Maybe that child needs medical care. Maybe you have antibiotics that they need. By day 7, your neighbors have either already made the decision to kill to get what they need, or they have already done so. Don't deceive yourself with this. It's absolutely true, and you'll disregard this at your own peril. I am as serious as a heart attack on this subject. Rule 4. By day 4, your neighbors become dangerous. By day 7, they become killers. Either they've already done it, or they plan to do it. And if you're their neighbor and they know you have stuff, they probably plan on doing it to you. So remember some operational security in your planning. Keep your prep secret. People don't need to know what you're putting back. People don't need to know that you have things. They don't need to know that you have firearms, food, medical supplies. They don't need to know. You need to know. The people that are in your circle need to know. Your neighbors don't. The other people in town don't need to know. You keep that secret, and it'll keep you safe. Practice a lot of operational security on your planning, your prepping, and any of your survival stuff. When you're moving through areas in a survival situation, don't broadcast what you have. Be gray man. When you're in the woods, you be invisible. You don't let people see you. You don't show people that you meet along the way the things you have in your pack. I'm not saying to be aggressive to them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying avoid them. When you deal with other people, look disheveled. Don't look like you have things that they want. And if you do have to, then show a strong posture that makes them not want to try to take from you, that it's be more trouble than what it's worth. But that's a word on operational security and on the rule of 4 and 7. Don't forget those rules. Again, I'm Mike from the School of Self-Reliance. If you like what we do, like us on Facebook, watch our videos, share our videos. Thanks for watching.